Welcome back to Fast Market here on the Schwab Network. It's time for cash tags. For that, let's bring in our next guest. It's going to be Andy Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio. Welcome back to the show, Andy.
Thank you.
All right, so we got Uber in bear market territory, off 20% from those all-time highs that we saw just last October. Andy, when I look at this, is this inflationary fears? Is this robo-taxi? What is it? And is your data kind of reflective of the pullback?
Yeah, I think it's definitely robo-taxis, the primary driver here of the pullback. And I think for pretty good reason. You know, when you look at what Uber is doing, they have definitely the best logistics software for getting people or items from point A to point B using a driver in a local environment. And I think that technology is going to be very, very valuable in the future. The problem that they have is, you know, eventually they want to get to the point where the cars don't need a driver in order for people to use their services. But it's very difficult to scale that in terms of the actual physical cars that are capable of doing that. And competitors like Tesla, or potential competitor like Tesla, has the scale built in already. They can produce hundreds of thousands or 1 million vehicles in a year. They can roll out an autonomous driving army fairly quickly, at least compared to what Uber would rely on in partnerships with GM or Waymo or Aviride or whatever. So Uber's a little bit stuck right now. It's in a little bit of a holding pattern, as I think investors are right to wonder, you know, what is the next step for this company? We all tend to agree that Uber has the best logistics software. They have the distribution, the brand name. You know, I think they would make a phenomenal target acquisition for a company like Tesla or partnership. But until that happens, it's tough to see where this company is 3 to 5 years from now, when others, you know, actually own and control the cars in their network rather than relying on individual contractors to do the driving.
Andy, I agree. You know, we've always talked about this on this show. Yeah. How the app is the the golden goose here, right? That app is incredibly forward-looking and forward-thinking. But we were always wondering about, if there's no drivers, who owns the car, and how's that going to play out over time? And now there is doubts. But I think you make a great point. A company like Tesla is still going to need a partner. They're still going to need a software, unless Elon Musk and Tesla are going to make the software, create the software for that. There's still got to be massive opportunities for a company like Uber to acquire the cars and then do it all themselves. It's actually quite confusing. I don't know, frankly, what Uber's role will be, but I know there is a role. I'm just not sure what it is, frankly.
Yeah, you know, I think that's why the stock has pulled back 20%. The company executes at a very high level. You know, we own, it's been in LikeFolio core portfolio for almost a year now. I think it's up 3%. It was up a lot more. Part of the reason we put it in is because the execution that this company produces is phenomenal. You know, they decide to do something, and within a year, they're going to be the best in the world at it, whether it's delivering food or people or even freight, and now even showing ads to the people that are sitting in the back of the car is a growing business. I think they have a really reasonable expectation for growth in the short term, you know, and by short term, I mean 1 to 3 years. I think this is one of the best companies in the world, but what is now hanging out there, because of the leapfrog type of advances in technology, is this looming threat of, you know, the one company in the world that can actually produce the cars is also making the cars drive themselves, and is potentially, you know, a few lines of code away from replicating at least 90% of the logistics software that Uber has. That's a really big threat out there, and it all of a sudden makes Uber a binary bet. And so you're kind of betting, will Uber find a partner, find a scaling solution, or be acquired, or will someone like Tesla come along and just take them out at the knees and the whole thing is over? And so I think that's what investors are trying to figure out right now. And Kevin, I think your confusion or, you know, apprehension is what the whole market is feeling about Uber. Great stock, great company, but what happens if?
Yeah, it's so funny how within a year, because we talked about this, as Kevin mentioned, the fact that, hey, they were waiting for driverless cars because that was going to increase their margins, expand their business. They've already got the user base in there, Andy. But, I always look at it this way, like if Tesla does come out with the robotaxi, the Waymo start to expand a little bit, that they're just going to have to license it. So instead of paying the driver, they're going to have to pay for licensing fees moving forward. But your data still looks pretty good right now as far as ridership goes, and the economy's doing well, and consumers out there spending, right?
Yeah, it's picking back up year over year. At the end of last year, things were pretty flat on a year-over-year basis. Now we're starting to see pickup on a year-over-year basis. So it's not just seasonal; it's actual, increased adoption of the Uber technologies. I think this is their greatest asset by far, is this distribution that they have. This, they've got their app, they've got the portal into their company is in pretty much everybody's pocket right now, and that's very valuable to a company like a Tesla or even a Waymo or others. That distribution and logistics software is extremely valuable. It's just how much pain does Uber have to endure before they become a worthwhile target? I think that's another big question. So going into this earnings, we're neutral on Uber. We think that the market's trying to digest a lot. We think they're going to have a good report, but a murky outlook because of all these concerns that are a little bit further down the road, but approaching much quicker than any of us anticipated a year ago.
Yeah, nobody anticipated this. We were all waiting for driverless cars because Uber was going to take off on that because they didn't have to pay their drivers. All right, great discussion, great data as always, Andy. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, that's Andy Swan, co-founder at LikeFolio. Kevin, isn't that funny how that just kind of flip-flop with